Welcome, viewers, to the Broward County Bar Association's Meet Our Sponsors. In this episode, we will be speaking with Anthony Quackenbush of the Quackenbush Law Firm. Welcome, Anthony, and thank you for taking the time to log in and chat with us.
Thank you, Braulio. I really appreciate you doing this today. It's great service you provide to the membership, and another sign of your great job you do as executive director. I appreciate it.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you. My pleasure. So let's get started. Can you tell us a little bit about your practice and what area do you practice in? What do you focus in on?
Sure. So I'm a personal injury attorney, and the way I typically describe it to people is I will represent somebody if they've been injured and it's due to the fault of somebody else. It's due to somebody else's negligence. So there can be many different forms of that. It can come in the place of an automobile accident. So I handle cases involving automobile accidents. It can be premises liability. So you go on somebody else's property and there's something dangerous on the property that causes you to be injured, and that would be referred to as premises liability. It can come in the form of medical malpractice. So if you go get treatment with a doctor or any other medical provider, a nurse or any other medical provider for that matter, and they're negligent in some form, in some way, then that would be referred to as a medical malpractice, and that causes you injury, and that would be referred to as a medical malpractice case. Another example would be a products liability case. So you buy a product, whether it be a household appliance or a child's toy or an automobile or any kind of product, and there's something defective about the product and it causes you an injury, that's a products liability case. So, and I handle all those cases, all those types of cases. So again, back to where I started, if you're injured and it's due to somebody else's fault, somebody else's negligence, then I will represent you.
Tell us about your background prior to law, education, other types of jobs you may have done.
Sure. Well, I'm originally from upstate New York. I was born near Syracuse, New York. Came down with my family when I was a little boy to South Florida, that is, when I was a little boy, about 10 years old. Graduated from Pinecrest High School here in Fort Lauderdale, which I'm proud of, the fact that I graduated from school here in Broward County.
Yeah.
I went to I did my undergraduate work. I graduated college at Yale University. And I ended up going to law school at the University of Miami. In between undergraduate and graduate, I actually went to music school. And I learned to play jazz guitar. Don't ask me to play now because it's been about 20 years and I'd be really bad.
Uh,
But at one point I could play a little jazz guitar. And so that was one interesting thing I did. And then, like I said, after that, I decided I wasn't going to be a famous musician. That wasn't going to work out for me. I wasn't good enough, I guess. And I had to go back to law school, and I did that, and I'm happy I did because I think I enjoy my job more than playing guitar.
but it does bespeak of your creative side, sir.
Thanks. And one other thing I wanted to mention is, in terms of my background, after graduating law school, my first job, which this is the best job I ever had, I think, is I worked at the Broward Public Defender's Office here at the courthouse under Howard Finkelstein, who was a great boss, and just loved that job. Got a lot of trial experience, but those were probably the best years of my life. I was there for 3 years, and I get nostalgic every time I think about it because it really made me into the lawyer I am now, and also helped me develop as a person. So I wanted to mention that. But that's my background leading up to this point.
I was about to say before you did, if you worked at the public defender's office, you definitely have accumulated quite a bit of experience, courtroom experience, because you spend just about every day in the courtroom in the public defender's office.
That's right. Yeah. I was there for, like I said, 3 years, and I tried over 70 jury trials in 3 years. There was one year while I was there that I swore in 30 juries. I tried 30 cases, which it's just the kind of experience you're never going to get, working at a civil law firm. So you get thrown right into the fire, and and that's why I say it really helped me to develop as a lawyer and a person, because with that kind of pressure, you grow up quick. I mean, I went into that job, I was 27 years old. I was still really just a kid, and I came out of it. I was now, this is hyperbole, but I really felt like I was a man coming out of that because, I mean, your back's against the wall. Everybody is against you. The prosecutor is against you. In many cases, your clients are upset. The judges can be tough on you, and it's just you. And you really grow thick skin in there quick. And I was able to do that. So looking back, uh, I'm really thankful I went to that. I did that job. And then one other thing to mention is I worked after leaving the public defender's office. I worked at a couple of personal injury firms, both of which were great firms. One was Dell and Schaefer in Hollywood, down in Hollywood, and I was there for about 4 years. And then I worked at Kelly Ustall here in Fort Lauderdale for 6 years. Again, both great firms. Dell and Schaefer was great because I'd come from the public defender's office where I'd been trying a lot of cases, and I knew I wanted to continue that, and they allowed me to do that. Um, and so I learned how to try civil cases there at Dell and Schaefer, and I'm still close with a lot of people over there. It's a great firm. And then went to Kelly Ustall, which for trial lawyers really is the cream of the crop, maybe not just in Broward County, but around the state. And was able to learn a ton from Bob Kelly and John Ustall and many of the other attorneys over there. So that also was just crucial for me to see to figure out to learn the right way to do things and how to handle these cases and try personal injury cases. I'm really indebted to both those firms, Kelly Ustall and Dell and Schaefer.
Well, an impressive CV and invaluable experience with those three law firms because the public defender is basically a law firm too.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest ones there is.
Yeah, yeah. So moving on, can you tell us a little bit about a notable or unique case you've handled and what was the final result?
Sure. I handled a case that was, I'll give you a 30-second rundown of the facts of it, but it was a young man. He was in his 30s, and he was riding his bicycle over um, the Commercial Boulevard Bridge, and the bridge going over the turnpike, and he encountered an open sewage grate, um, and his bicycle tire went into the sewage grate, like a water runoff drainage grate, basically. His bicycle tire went into the opening, and he flew off of the bike, and he hit his head, and he had a terrible brain injury. He was in a coma for several months. When he came out of he had brain surgery while he was in the coma. When he came out of the coma, he was having seizures for a long time. He had all sorts of physical restrictions as a result of his injuries. He walked with a permanent limp. He had slurred speech. He had trouble controlling his saliva, so he would involuntarily would drool at times. Anyway, long story short, just truly catastrophic injuries for this poor guy. I represented him for a grand total of 7 years, and this was the nicest client that I'd ever had. I mean, he was an A plus. He was an 11 on the 1 to 10 scale as far as clients. He was as good as they come. Because of that, we developed a real close friendship. I became very close with him, not only through the litigation, through the case, but we became just close friends. He was a big sports fan. I'm a sports fan, so we'd go to watch Dolphins and Heat games together. We became very close. But this guy's life was turned upside down, and we're still close friends to this day. But even after the case is resolved, but his life was turned upside down. Uh, and the reason I say it's probably the proudest moment of my career is we were able to get a really good result for him. It was a confidential settlement, so I can't say the actual numbers, but suffice it to say, it turned this guy's life around. He still has all the physical restrictions and limitations, but he now has the funds to be able to pay for his treatment, pay for his doctors, and take care for himself because he needs a lot of in-home care. And it really saved this guy's life. It really rescued him. I mean, without the money that he got from this case, I don't know. Uh, I don't know how he would have survived. And that's not much of an exaggeration. So, but that's the great thing about doing what I do, is you get a chance, now and then to really make an enormous difference in somebody's life. It's not possible all the time, but when you have somebody with a truly catastrophic injury like that, and you're able to get a really good result for them, you really can turn around their life, and it's gratifying and rewarding, and it makes our jobs can be really hard, not only for any lawyer, but particularly litigators. It's stressful, it's hard, and when you have a result like that, and you're really able to help somebody who really needs it, it keeps you going. So that case certainly did, and it still does now.
Wow. So a tragic story turned into, I mean, it's still tragic. It doesn't change the condition, but at least, through your work, he's able to have the treatment and the care that he needs. So heartwarming in that sense.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So moving on, can you tell us a little bit about any awards that you've received and which ones you're the most proud of?
Yeah, I would have to say the thing I'm most proud of as a trial lawyer anyway, is I am currently board certified in civil trial law. Board certification is a process to get to that point. You have to try a certain amount of cases, and then once you do that, you have to take a test, which is still probably the hardest test I've ever taken. Hopefully, the last test that I'll ever have to take. But it's like taking a bar exam just focused on your practice area, which for me was civil trial law. There's a peer review process. The bar talks to lawyers you've tried cases against. They talk to judges who you've tried cases in front of or appeared before. Um, and when all said and done, if you pass all those things, you get board certified. But there's a very, very small percentage of lawyers in the state of Florida that are board certified. I was able to get board certified, so that's one of the things that I'm most proud of. The other thing, I guess, and I kind of touched on this earlier, but when I was at the public defender's office, I mentioned that I tried 30 civil trials, 30 criminal trials rather, in 1 year. And so I was given a award at the PD's office for trying the most cases in 1 year at the PD's office. And I actually beat out the lawyer that I beat out, that I surpassed or got more trials than, was Judge Diaz, Judge Robert Diaz. So if anybody sees him, please rub it in for me, because every time I see him, he says he thinks my record's a fraud and it should have an asterisk next to it. So, but it's not, it's real. I got more than Judge Diaz. So rub it in if anybody sees him, please.
Next time I see Judge Diaz, I will definitely rub it in.
Yeah, you'll get a kick out of that.
Love it, love it, love it. So, tell us a little bit about what sets your firm apart from others that practice in the same area.
What I would say sets my firm apart is that I'm not afraid to try cases. And I think that is the thing that gives trial lawyers, litigators, the most leverage. It's what poses the biggest threat to insurance companies. If they know that a lawyer on the other side, a plaintiff's lawyer, is not willing to take his or her case to trial, they're going to lowball you. They're not going to make you a reasonable offer on your cases. If you're willing to take your cases to trial, and by the way, the insurance companies, they keep track of all this stuff. They know who's board certified. They know who tries cases. And so if they know you're willing to take your case to trial, they're going to be willing to pay you significantly more on your cases than they would be otherwise. I would say that's the main thing that sets my firm apart. Now, having said that, look, it's very hard to do that in today's day of age with the pandemic and with COVID and with everything going on. We're not having live in-person jury trials, but there's other ways to do it. There's other ways to still apply pressure to the insurance companies. For example, I just finished last week a final arbitration hearing on another case, and it was pretty similar uh, to a real trial. The only difference, I guess, is it wasn't a jury trial. We were in front of an arbitrator, but this was a multiple day arbitration hearing. It was a 3-day arbitration hearing with witnesses and closing arguments and everything else that you would have in a real jury trial. Of course, it was done over Zoom. I was here in where I am in my house doing it. But the point I'm making is, when you ask what sets my firm apart from other firms, it's the ability to do that. It's the ability to go the distance with cases. Because I remember when I keep going back to the public defender's office, when I was there, I had my supervisor was a guy named Frank Delatorre, and he told me, Quackenbush, you got to get out there and try your cases, because it's not only going to help the clients that whose cases you're trying, but it's also going to help the rest of your clients, because the prosecutors will know Quackenbush isn't afraid to try cases. He's not. He's willing to go to the jury, and so they'll give you better offers for the rest of your clients. It's the same thing what I do now in these personal injury cases. The insurance companies, if they know you're willing to go the distance, which my firm is, they're going to give you better offers, not only on those cases, but on all the rest of your cases. So I would say that's what sets my firm apart. And again, I learned this at the firms I worked at, Kelly,Ustall, and Dell and Schaefer. They were willing to do the same things, and that's why they were the law firms that they were.
Outstanding. Tell us about your community involvement, volunteering, advocacy that you're involved in.
Yeah, I would say the thing that I'm most involved in terms of advocacy, outside of simply representing my clients, would be through the Florida Justice Association. And then, of course, here in Broward County, we have the Broward County Trial Lawyers Organization. But Broward County Trial Lawyers Organization is the local subsidiary of the statewide Florida Justice Association. And I'm on the board of both the local chapter and the Florida Justice Association. And through the FJA is the name of it, but is the acronym, but it's Florida Justice Association. Through the FJA, I'm able to do lobbying up in Tallahassee on legislation that affects trial lawyers like myself and my clients, and just the state of Florida generally as well. And I consider it to be really important because every year up in Tallahassee, there's a push for tort reform. I know everybody's heard that term, and it gets really bad where the other side, the insurance industry and big business, is trying to change the laws to make it harder for injured people to have their day in court, and they've been very successful in doing that. So many many lawyers who have been around for a while, back in the 80s and 90s, will remember the tort reform on they really forever altered medical malpractice cases. There was severe tort reform that involved workers' compensation laws, and basically made it almost impossible or very difficult for an injured worker to obtain an attorney to represent them in a workers' comp case. Same thing with medical malpractice. These are areas that really became very difficult due to tort reform, and it's ongoing. Every single year, there are these major threats up in Tallahassee and in Washington D.C. to injured people and to lawyers like myself and our ability to represent those injured people. So through the FJA and through the Broward County Trial Lawyers Organization, I'm able to lobby up in Tallahassee and in Washington D.C. To try to fend off that tort reform, and we've been pretty successful at doing it. But again, it's a new threat every year. I feel like if these organizations didn't exist and didn't do the work that they do, I wouldn't exist. I wouldn't be talking to you now. Injured people in the state of Florida really would be in trouble, and it's these organizations that keep us all going and keep the justice system what it is. So I really enjoy that, and we got to keep it up because, as I said, those threats won't stop coming.
Interesting. I'm going to guess that I'll know this answer, but maybe not. Let's see. What are you passionate about? Any hobbies, and how does that influence your practice?
I don't know if you were gonna guess music, jazz guitar or something.
Yes. Yes.
No, I've got 3 children, so that I have no time to play guitar anymore. And if I did, my wife would probably stop me. I would say my main passion, which is very difficult nowadays, and I know you'll be able to relate to this, is travel. I love to travel. I love to see different parts of the world and different cultures and different people and the way different things are done. As I said, it's very hard to do now in the midst of the pandemic. I haven't left Broward County since March. If you can believe that, it's terrible. Broward County is a great place to be, but I'd like to get out and see different parts of the world. My wife and I actually have a trip planned to go. We're just going up to the mountains in North Carolina over the holidays, which I'm just dying to do that. Um, but that's the thing that I enjoy doing most. It's just we always try to take one trip. I love to get out of the country and, like I said, see other countries and other cultures and different ways of life. Um, it also helps me in my practice, I feel like, and what I do here at home, because when you're informed on other ways, the way things are done in other places, when you see different cultures, and like again, you're exposed to different people, it helps you in your own life, in your own personal life, and in your own business here at home. There's a quote that I love, and not to get too cheesy here, but I wrote it down because I wanted to cite to it because I knew you were going to ask me this question, and it's from T.S. Eliot, and the quote says, "We shall not cease from exploration, and at the end of our exploring, we will be to arrive where we started and to know the place for the first time." So I think that's what travel does for you. It gives you perspective. You learn things about other places in the world, but really, ultimately, what it does for you is when you come home to your home, you now understand the place better because you have a bigger perspective and you can look at your own place in the world and yourself, uh, and just see how you fit in better, and understand yourself and your place in the world better. And that does that with your career. It helps me to relate to my clients better, whether they be from other countries or that they speak different languages or whatever. It helps me to relate to them. And it just motivates me in my job, makes me want to work harder, makes me want to do a better job for my clients. So hopefully this pandemic will be over and I can get back out on the road soon enough.
Travel is wonderful, definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
So, closing out, is there anything else you'd like to tell our audience, let them know a little bit, something else that you haven't told them about yourself?
Um, Yeah, I would say just in regards to my firm, my focus on my firm, I always want my firm to be a compassionate, empathetic, sympathetic firm. And that's very important in what I do because, and maybe what every lawyer does, but particularly in what I do because everybody that comes to me for help is in dire straits. They're badly injured. Many of them aren't working, so they're not able to provide for their families and themselves. Many of them have enormous medical bills that they have to pay back. So most of them are in dire straits, and that's not even to mention the mental component, because when you're physically injured, it affects you mentally, which can be just as bad. Many of my clients have developed anxiety disorders or depression, and then it affects their families as well. Like I said, if they're married or they have children, it's not just them that goes through the injury, it's the entire family because other people are forced to pick up the slack, whether it be working a second job or working extra shifts, or just now they're taking care of the injured person at home, and that's a burden on everybody. um, so everybody that comes to me is in dire straits and they're really beaten up physically and mentally. I always want my firm to be a compassionate, empathetic firm for them. And I learned this at the other law firms I worked at. Like I said, Kelly Ustall and Dell Schaefer, those firms, that the motto over at Kelly Ustall was, put the clients first. And they really did that. I mean, sure, they wanted to succeed and do well themselves, but it was about the client first. They knew that if you did that, that, success in your own career would flow from that. Um, as a lawyer, as a litigator, as I said, it's easy to get stressed out and life gets hectic and your career gets hectic. So, it's easy sometimes to take your eye away from this. And litigation is a hard job, but I want my firm to always strive to be a compassionate, empathetic firm. Like I said, not only for the clients, although they come first, but also with everybody we deal with opposing counsel, with insurance adjusters, with judges, with whoever it is. I always want to be a kind firm. That's the person I want to be, going forward and always. And I want my firm to reflect that. So I guess that's all I wanted to say. All I wanted to say about that for my firm. That's what we strive for now, and that's what we'll always strive for. I want to be a successful firm, but I also want to be a compassionate, empathetic firm and treat people the way that we would want to be treated ourselves.
So, Anthony, thank you for taking some time hanging out with me and sharing a little bit about yourself so that our viewers get to know you better. I really appreciate it.
I really appreciate you too, brother. I've enjoyed doing this, and again, thanks for thinking of me on it. You do, like I said, you do a great job as executive director, and you've treated me really well as well. So thank you.
My pleasure, my friend. And to our viewers, thank you for spending time with us today. And if you ever need help in this area, I hope that you visit Anthony Quackenbush. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks so much, brother.